Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here. And today we have the brand spanking new Tier 8 Premium American Cruiser, the Congress import, to review for you guys today. As always, absolutely massive shout out to the Patreon supporters. With these guys' contributions, I was able to get this ship to review for you guys. Patreon is the best way to support the channel, besides, of course, just watching the videos. I'm not a CC. I don't get these ships to test early or anything like that. So any type of donations here definitely helps out the channel, as always. So, the Congress. She is essentially a down-tiered Alaska. So if you missed out on the Alaska the first time around, and then on the Alaska Black, this is pretty much the closest thing you can get in-game to the Alaska. Now I'm going to walk you through her armor layout, then we're going to look at her stats and go over her quirks and features, and give this thing a good old go around and battle and let you guys know what it is like. Alright, so no commander has been applied, nor captain skills equipped. I did play this on stream last night. If you were out and about, got a pretty good idea of what this thing played like last night. So I have played it already, but I'm recording this right after the stream. So still pretty good first impressions. Alright, so let's look at her armor. It's an Alaska. Like, it's an Alaska hull. All this is all Alaska, literally. 27mm bow, 27mm foredeck, 36mm mid-deck, 26mm aft deck, 27mm stern, 28mm upper belt, 229mm main belt, 178mm lower belt, and 27mm torpedo protection. Citadel is under the water. Turrets are, again, it's in Alaska. So you got 325mm turret face, 152mm side, 133mm side, and 127mm roof. Alright. So again, no surprise there. It's literally an Alaska hull at Tier 8, which is a very, 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 very strong hull at Tier 8. It's a strong hull at Tier 9, so you can imagine what it's like a tier lower. Hit points, 51,150. She has 9,000 less hit points than the Alaska. The Alaska's got 60,100. Torpedo protection damage reduction is at 13%. Her guns. They're Alaska's guns. So they're set up a little weird, though. So they're in two twin turrets, one in the front, one in the back, and one triple turret in the front. They're Alaska's guns with 305mm American guns with a 22-second reload time instead of the Alaska's base reload time. So you do have a longer load time there. But other than that, again, they're identical. Maximum dispersion, 195 meters. HE shell has a maximum damage of 4,300 with a 27% chance of starting a fire. And they can pin 51mm of armor, so absolutely no need for IFHE. AP shells do a maximum of 8,900, and it is the American Super Heavy AP, so it's got those pin angles, and this stuff packs a punch, just like with the Alaska. AP shells have a velocity of 762 meters a second. HE shells have a velocity of 808 meters a second. And you do have secondaries. They are, of course, the American 5-inch guns. No surprise there. 6-second reload time. HE shells do a maximum damage of 1,800. 5% chance of starting a fire. 21mm of HE pin. Maximum range of 6.6 kilometers. They're pretty useless in a fight. I mean, you might get one that's a little lucky and starts a fire. But again, that mostly contributes to the AA. Which, speaking of the AA, it's got slightly less AA than the Alaska. You got 20 single mount Orlikins, 14 dual mount Bofors, and then of course the secondaries are also AA as well. A range is out to 5.8 kilometers, so same as the Alaska. Maneuverability, the ship has a maximum speed of 33 knots base, 850 meters turning circle radius, and a 13-second rudder shift time. Concealment, detectability by sea is 15 kilometers. But, oh, also gun range. I was about to say, did I go over the gun range? I did not. Maximum gun range is 17.5 kilometers, so less than the Alaska. Alright, so that is her stats. Now, something to note is that this ship isn't in the proper actual Congress design layout. This triple turret should be back here, and these catapults should be back here as well. I'm not sure if Wargaming ever said this was like a variant of that design or what, but I'll tell you that this triple turret being in the front is a good thing for the ship in game, because most of your firepower is in the front, and the Alaska is a very bow-on cruiser. You don't do a whole lot of kiting with it. You're mostly bow-on. In most cases, of course, you do kite, and it would be okay if this turret is back here for kiting, but for most instances, it's better that it's in the front. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and module and kit her out, and I'll meet you guys right back here. We'll go over the build for her, and see you guys in a minute. Alright, I do have my build on her. I forgot to go over the consumables, so she gets 2 heals base. This is after the captain has been put on. She gets 2 heals base, not 3. So that hurts. She gets radar. It's the American radar, 10 kilometer range, 38.5 second runtime, and reloads in 114 seconds. You get 4 charges of those, 3 base. You can swap this out for a fighter or a spotter, but I mean, hey, it's radar. Radar's super useful. So I'd imagine you want to keep that equipped. You have a choice of DFAA or hydroacoustic search as well. And of course, damage con. So modules. With main armaments mod 1, want to keep those sweet guns in the fight. I'm with the damage con modules because she does get the 60-second burn time, and fire suck, and you only have 3 hills max with superintendent. With aiming systems mod 1 to pull in the dispersion a little bit, and damage con 2, fire suck, and then concealment. Now you could go with the radar module here, absolutely, if you want to, but I mean, fires suck. That's my logic behind it, but you could build into the radar, obviously. Be a pretty solid choice. Alright, so for the commander build, I went with grease the gears, consumable enhancements, adrenaline rush, then concealment, then gun feeder, because the HE on this thing is actually really solid too. So switching back and forth between them, having this boost is of course very nice. Priority target, superintendent, and then top grade gunner, and then last stand. And we do have flags equipped, so now we have, well, the main battery guns are dispersions 181 meters. And our concealment is now down to 12.2 kilometers, which is very, very, very nice. Alright. Oh, also the speed, 34.7 knots with the speed flag. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead, hop into battle. I'll meet you guys there with my voiceover review of the Congress. Alright guys, so the Congress. Well, take an Alaska, remove 2 guns, reduce the range, and increase the reload. That's a Congress. It feels just like Alaska. The guns are very, very, very sweet. The AP is very, very punchy. And yeah, that's the best way I can describe it. Now, this is at Tier 8, which means that when you're top tier, the world's your oyster. I mean, the hull is incredibly tanky for Tier 8. A lot of the lower tier battleships that you meet can't overmatch your bow. Now, if they have 16-inch guns, they can. There's a whole lot of even Tier 8, 7, 6 ships that have 15 or smaller caliber guns. So you've got plenty of ships that you can heavily bow tank with the Congress. Now, too, the gun setup, thinking 2 less guns on an Alaska. That's gotta suck, right? Well, the guns are actually pretty darn accurate and pretty darn consistent, too, to the point to where you don't really miss them too much. I mean, it does come into play a little bit. By that, I mean the overpins. The AP on this ship is so darn good that when you're fighting Tier 8 and Tier 7 and Tier 6 ships, you get a lot of overpins because they are that punchy. Even with the slow American velocity, you still have that super heavy AP. And you get a lot of overpins of this thing. But my god, when the AP connects, you're removing half of a ship's health sometimes on some cruisers. It is really, really, really nice. And that's what the Alaska does. But the Alaska is fighting mostly Tier 9 and 10 ships because it is a Tier 9 ship. And sure, it gets a Tier 9 game every now and then where it can see some Tier 7 ships. And any Alaska owner knows that when you see Tier 7 ships, you absolutely bully the living crap out of them. And the Congress gets to see Tier 6 ships with the Alaska's hull and the Alaska's guns and the Alaska's heavy AP, just with a slightly longer reload time and slightly less range. So it's quite the cruiser. So it's survivability. How is it survivability? When you're top tier, the one less heal and the 9,000 less health doesn't really matter too much. Unless you're getting set on fire a lot, which is why I chose to build into the fire duration. I'm sorry, the fire modules to cut that fire duration, that fire chance down. Because that is the main weakness of the ship. You got 10,000, almost 10,000 less HP than the Alaska. You still got that 60-second burn time, but you have one less heal to heal back that fire damage. So I would build into it. But other than that, it's incredibly tanky. I mean, it's the Alaska. If you played the Alaska or seen an Alaska or heard about the Alaska's survivability, same thing here, but one tier lower. It's great. It's really, really, really good for that. Now, of course, when you get double up tier to tier 10, it does suck. Because, you know, the Alaska's a pretty comfy cruiser at tier 10, but you've got 10,000 less health than the Alaska at tier 10. So, loses some points there, but overall, still really, really tanky cruiser. So the guns, like I said, they're accurate, they're punchy. Their 22-second load time, I didn't really mind it, because if you can aim really well, this ship rewards good aim, and I'm very happy with that. I'm very, very, very happy that we get another ship line that rewards good aim. They reward you with big, chunky AP shots, because when you hit the Citadel, the well-armored portion of your target, you wreck their health. It's very, very, very good for that. And the HE is good as well. It's got 27% chance of starting a fire. Now, there's only 5 guns in the front, but when you can manage to get your full broadside off and get all 7 guns on target, you'll be setting plenty of fires. And the Alaska was very good at that too. If it couldn't just Citadel something to death, it'll just burn it to death, no problem. Same thing here with the Congress. And the less range does hurt when you get up tiered. I mean, that's a huge, huge drawback when you get into tier 10 games. And I did have trouble with that on Steam, on stream, because it's a very fine line between getting in range in a tier 10 game and just getting the crap slapped out of you. So it does lose a decent bit of points there, but again, when you're in like a tier 9 or a tier 8 game, it really doesn't matter, you know. But when you're in a tier 10 game, struggles a little bit, but the guns more than make up for it, because once you get within range, you're perfectly capable of doing damage against whatever it is you're facing. AA, I mean, slightly less AA than Alaska, still has DFAA, so pretty decent there. Wasn't exactly, you know, swatting down planes left and right, but definitely had enough with DFAA to make the CV think twice about coming back. Maneuverability, pretty maneuverable super cruiser. Feels pretty similar to Alaska. It's maybe a tad bit more sluggish on the turns, but I'm pretty sure they have the same rudder shift time. Yeah, they both have. I just checked in port. They both have 13-second rudder shift time, same speed, same turning circle radius. So it's the same as the Alaska, and the Alaska's a really maneuverable cruiser, so this one is too as well. Concealment, again, 12.2 is perfectly workable for a cruiser of this size, and you can just leave the fight if you don't want to be in it anymore. But again, your overall range is shorter, and the detection range isn't any less than the Alaska, so that is a bit of a bit of a hold up there. But again, overall, for what this ship is, it's a really solid ship in my mind. 2 less guns on an Alaska, slightly less range, and a slightly longer load time. that is the best TLDR description of the Congress. So should you get this ship? If you missed out on the Alaska, I'd say pick it up. If you've got the Alaska, you've got the Alaska, you're good. No need to pick this thing up. Unless for whatever reason you want to go down and just seal club at tier 6 with an Alaska with 2 less guns. That's the only reason I say you may want to pick this up if you already have an Alaska. But if you have an Alaska, you've got the cream of the crop. There's no need to buy this thing. I'd play the Alaska every time over the Congress. Not saying the Congress is bad. It's certainly not. It's a really solid ship in my opinion, and a really darn good cruiser too. And if you missed the Alaska, I'd say pick this thing up. It's literally the Alaska with 2 less guns, slightly less range, and a slightly longer load time, but a really good ship and a really fun ship too. The Alaska's a fun ship to play, so is this ship. But yeah, it's a good one in my mind. Now, is it, again, drop what you're doing and buy it right now? No, it's not. But if you ever got a little extra cash to throw at the game and you're looking for a premium American cruiser, I'd say give this thing a look at because it's a really solid ship in my mind. Really good, really tanky, really good guns, really consistent guns too from my experience. I'm sure you've seen that a bit in the footage playing in the background. I had some terrible teams in this thing. It was either we won just hands down in like 10 minutes or we got absolutely creamed in like 5 minutes. I had a really hard time getting any decentish footage, and I probably have to go through 2 or 3 games just playing in the background right now. It was a rough night, and you can go watch the stream on Twitch to see that as well. But it's a good one. I'd say it's worth the cash. But again, if you got the Alaska, zero need to pick this thing up. So guys, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. You're planning on picking up your own Congress, or you're planning on passing on this one. Let me know down below. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 30,000 subs. Just passed 27,500 a few days ago. I cannot thank you guys enough for that. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.